Before we begin this video, I would like to raise a few disclaimers. First of all, I'm in no way suggesting that you should buy the upcoming Prime Access. Wisp Prime is a must-have for me because of her abilities, but that doesn't mean you should buy the Prime Access with real money, since you can also farm the new Prime parts anyway. Secondly, all the things you will see in this video are based on my views and opinions. If you have a different opinion or want to suggest something, feel free to comment down below, as I am always open to constructive criticism and discussion. Okay, now let's begin the video. Wisp Prime will be released on July 27, just a few days from now. As you all know, I fancy this Warframe not because of her appearance, but because of her usefulness in real missions. It's just a personal preference, but I like using this Warframe in Steel Path survival fisher missions, where I team up with 3 Necros and camp in one spot while farming Prime parts, resources, and Steel Essence. It may not be the fastest way to farm Prime parts, but it's the most relaxed way to do it. Another good thing about this is that you can farm Steel Essence, which you can use to buy stuff from Teshin, and you can also farm resources from that specific survival mission to use in crafting Warframes and weapons, or to use in the Helminth system for your insane Helminth builds. The Warframe, in general, is solid. Her Reservoir ability has all the features that a team needs to be effective in a mission. First, she has a health moat that gives an increase in maximum health as well as health regeneration, which scales well with power strength. Then she has her haste moat that increases movement speed and melee attack speed by 20 and fire rate by 30. These values can be further increased with power strength modes, arcanes, and other power strength buffs. Aside from the health moat, players also love the haste moat because of the crazy fire rate and attack speed buffs. Schedule users on Steel Path Fisher Survival runs particularly appreciate this moat, and you will usually see this set up in a team farming for Prime parts in Steel Path Fishers. Lastly, the Shock Moat stores an electrical charge that zaps up to 5 enemies within 15 meters with Chain Lightning, dealing 10 electricity damage with a 100 status chance to stun enemies. This Molt scales with power strength and range, and there are setups that make this ability insanely powerful. You can even give Wisp a group and nuke setup with Shock Molt if you have something like Korra's Ensnare to group enemies, then proceed viral with a viral weapon and strip their defenses with the Unaero Focus. The electric procs from the moat will take care of the damage part, and by the way, the most insane feature about Wisp's Reservoir ability is that it has unlimited duration. Once you drop it on the floor, all you need to do is get to the motes to reacquire the buffs once they expire. The motes are also immune to damage, so they are always in the field to give you those insane buffs. Then we have her Will-o-Wisp ability that casts forward a spectral image of Wisp to confuse and distract enemies. You can also reactivate this skill to travel to its position, or hold it to have the image travel faster and teleport to its position upon release. While some would use this ability only as a decoy and aggro control, it can also be used with Breach Surge. Casting her third skill while the spectral clone is traveling creates a second breach expansion around the clone, and you can also use this to go through laser barriers in Spy Mission. Next, we have her Breach Surge ability, which pairs well with Mirage's Eclipse and Exodia Contagion. It's just sad, though, that Digital Extremes nerfed the interaction, and there's no way right now to hit that with any damage cap with any damage buffing plus Breach Surge ability. However, it still hits hard, and Breach Surge is not only tied to one synergy alone. The ability is insane because once you deal huge damage to a target affected by it, a spark will jump into another that deals more damage. But, as I have said, there is more to this ability that makes it broken. Now let me share an experimentation I made during my playtime with Kullevo. I was looking for a good Helminth build for the new Warframe, and I ended up subsuming Misa's shooting gallery. This takes care of the survivability of the Warframe, and up until now, it's still the best build for Kullevo if you want to go against enemies beyond the Steel Path. So, what's so special about it, and how is it connected to Wisp's Breach Surge ability? Misa's shooting gallery has this augment called Muzzle Flash that makes shooting gallery emit a flash that blinds enemies around Misa when an ally buffed with shooting gallery assists in 6 kills. This helps out in Kullevo's survivability, and the best part is eximus units are also affected by the blind mechanic, and they will do nothing once they get blinded by Muzzle Flash. I have tried several aggro control abilities beforehand, but Muzzle Flash is one of those abilities that only work against eximus units while their overguard is active. Now the other ability is Wisp's Breach Surge. If you cast it, then eximus units with Overguard will also be blinded, even acolytes, and they will not cast any abilities and just walk around waiting for their time to die. Aside from being a good warframe for farming prime parts, Wisp is the only warframe that can counter the Overguard mechanic of eximus units with the help of Breach Surge. Not only is she good in dealing damage, but she is also great at crowd control. The only thing I don't like about Wisp is that her ultimate ability is somewhat lackluster. It's good that you can throw a beam that embodies the power of the sun, but its energy cost is not worth it considering the relatively low amount of damage it deals to the target. The damage is decent but not lethal, and it leaves Wisp vulnerable at times. Her ultimate ability is always my spot for subsumable Helminth builds, such as Rhino's Roar or Korra's Ensnare, for some group and nuke set up with her shock motes. I was hoping that Digital Extremes would buff her fourth ability, but I guess that's too much to ask for a warframe that is already meta in the game. Before we go to the build section, I would also like to feature her passive ability. Wisp weaves between dimensions while she is airborne, gaining a cloak that renders her and her companions completely invisible to enemies until she lands or fires a weapon. Wisp's cloak will reactivate briefly after the player stops firing, provided they are still airborne. The cloak does not wear off immediately after landing, allowing Wisp to constantly remain invisible, but hard landings will dissipate the cloak immediately. In addition, silenced weapons will still remove her invisibility, so basically, you can say that her passive invisibility is good, but worse than other stealth abilities. However, it's very effective with an Exodia Contagion setup, or those nuke weapons that shoot one projectile and then go invisible again with your passive. It pairs well with the Aerovantage mode, and is a key component to Wisp's survival, along with the help of her Breach, Surge and Will-o-Wisp for aggro control. Honestly, Wisp is not a specialist warframe, excelling in a specific mission type. Instead, she is similar to Oberon, a jack of all trades, and performs well in various types of missions. Regardless of the build, I always make sure to focus on good duration and range for her Breach Surge, while also increasing the power strength for her mote buffs. She's always a reliable support warframe for me, and her health and speed buffs make her a welcome addition to any team composition. However, she can also hold her own and easily complete solo Steel Path missions, which sets her apart from Oberon. Most players voted her at the top of the meta warframe list for these reasons. Think of it this way: her Reservoir ability is like Harrow's health regen, combined with reliable crowd control, not just providing a fire rate buff, but also attack speed and movement speed. Her Will-o-Wisp is similar to Loki's decoy, but it moves and doesn't get destroyed, plus it grants invisibility, albeit with a shorter duration. It's also comparable to Switch Teleport, but with less range and restriction, and it offers invulnerability without requiring an augment. Her Breach Surge is like a combination of Loki's Disarm and Banshee, dealing radiation damage, multiplying damage, crippling eximus enemies, and preventing them from shooting at you. Another crucial aspect is that her abilities are designed to synergize with weapons and other teammates. Many other warframes have abilities for damage, but they lack the utility that makes them on par with weapons, and they often hinder weapon usage, like Sevagoth, Nidus, Grendel, and others. In contrast, powerful damage, dealing frames like Mesa, Sareen, and Korra offer something unique that no weapon can replicate, making them invaluable in a team. Wisp fulfills that role for the support role with excellent crowd control, weapon damage boosts, and survivability, all in one frame. This is precisely why Wisp Prime is like an absolute cheat code. In the past, the only way to acquire Wisp was to purchase her with platinum in the market or grind for hours, facing the big sentient chicken in the Rapalolist node on Jupiter, hoping for her components and blueprint to drop with an abysmal chance. With Wisp Prime, you can easily farm the relics, open them, and construct the warframe in your foundry. After a short wait, if you choose to rush the build time, you'll have the best jack of all trades warframe in the game. So that's all there is to it. I hope you have learned something from this video that you can use for your upcoming Wisp Prime. If you have anything to add, feel free to comment below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in my next video.